Duke went into Chapel Hill and utterly dismantled North Carolina. I mean, like, they kicked the dead horse on the ground repeatedly until it had no life at all. The scoreboard says 87-70 Duke. This was a bigger blowout than what the scoreboard indicates. Duke led by 32 at one point. They led by double digits for all but the first 5.5 minutes of this game. And essentially, North Carolina had no answer for Cooper Flagg. They tried putting Seth Trimble one-on-one on him in the first couple minutes. He had 9 points in the first 5 minutes. That didn't work. They tried doubling the post. Cooper Flagg finished with 7 assists, basically freed Con Knipple and Tyrese Proctor up to get wide open threes. Those two, Knipple and Proctor, because UNC doubled the post so frequently and freed them for three. Those two combined 39 points, 12 of 21 from the field, and 4 for 9 from three combined. And Flagg hit him, man. Like, there was a double team in the post when he whipped it around, and it was a beautiful pass. I mean, this was routine for him. And they also couldn't guard Duke without fouling. I mean, Duke had 25 free throws compared to Carolina's 11. And, you know, the big overarching thought while watching this game was, I mean, Duke's just better. That's what it comes down to. But there's so many ways Duke can beat you, even without Cooper Flagg, whether that's the pick and roll with Knipple or the pick and roll with Proctor. These guys can handle, they can shoot. Malawatch as a lob catcher. Man, I mean, the Cooper Flagg effect too, like when he would blow by you, he would take in the defense and free up shooters so often. Like, I point out to this as Duke's success. Tyrese Proctor is a career 33% three-point shooter. He's shooting 39% this year. Zion James shot 34% from three in his career at Tulane. Goes to Duke, bam, 37%. Why is that? Well, because Cooper Flagg is blowing by these guys, and he's giving them open three after open three after open three, and there's nothing Carolina could do. Now, on the other side of the ball, because this was a dismantlement on both sides of the ball for Duke, North Carolina, identity stat, in the first half had more turnovers, 9, than field goals. This was over the moment the tip happened. That's it. That's the reality of it. Duke's length was too much. UNC, I saw they tried a bunch of backdoor cuts, a bunch of flex cuts, backdoor action, and it didn't work. Duke had 10 steals. I mean, the length was just too much. The shortest starter for Duke, I think, is 6'5", in Zion James or Tyrese Proctor. Yeah, 10 steals for Duke, 3 for Cooper Flagg, man. He was everywhere. UNC, along with that, struggled to shoot at the rim. I mean, the Flagg-Malawatch contests were just too much for Carolina, flat out. And man, UNC, like I said before, tried to do a lot of flex cuts, a lot of V cuts to get some backdoor action happening, but the passing lanes are so thin that they weren't quite able to make the passes. So Hubert Davis, honestly, switched it up, and it's like, okay, we're going to do a lot of DHOs. We're going to do some pick and rolls. It worked better, but it didn't necessarily work at all. Well, an overarching story of this at first. Let's talk about North Carolina, man. Let's talk about North Carolina. It's about time. They're 13-10. They have one quad one win this season. They're on the verge of missing the tournament for the second time in 4 years under Hubert Davis. Mind I tell you, they missed the tournament 2 times in 16 years under Roy Williams. So we got to ask, why is North Carolina in this position? Just curious. Well, for starters, they're giving up 77 points per game. 308th in college basketball. They do play with the prophetic pace. They play really fast. I understand that, guy. I understand that part. They don't have necessarily a rim protector. Nobody on their team averages more than 1.1 blocks per game. So when you saw Cooper Flagg get to the rim with ease and draw fouls, or them routinely get beat off the dribble and not have a second answer, well, that's a part of their flaw right there. There you go. I expected the struggles defensively from a young team. I mean, that's typical for young teams to do. Sometimes they forget to communicate in certain screens and things get opened up. I'll tell you what, though. Offensively, I couldn't see this coming. They're shooting 32% from three as a team. That is 297th in Division I. 297th. RJ Davis, and this is why I didn't see it coming, okay? RJ Davis, 40% three-point shooter. He's shooting 30% this year. Seth Trimble went from 42% from three last year to 17%. Caden Tyson We heard a lot of noise from him in the offseason, the transfer from Belmont, who is a 47% perimeter shooter at Belmont, goes to UNC, barely even touches the court, and is shooting 28%. So 3 guys here getting dramatically lower shot percentages. We got to ask why. Well, it's just exactly the thing I talked about with the Cooper flag doubles, man. With Proctor and Knipple getting all those open threes and Sion James as well. I mean, man, that has a lot to do with it. UNC's missing a post scorer. They're missing Armando Bacot severely. Because Armando Bacot, people forget, when he would get the ball in the post, typically would draw a double team. So dudes like RJ were typically more open. Now that's not happening. There are no doubles that UNC is commanding in the post, rarely, if ever. How do you fix that? Don't quite know. Not quite sure. Well, I will say one thing. I think Drake Powell needs to play more, man. I mean, he's shooting 57% from 2, 38% from 3. He's projected a near lottery pick. I mean, UNC might just need to let the freshman cook, if I'm being honest, because not a lot is working right now. There's a lot of people in slumps, and there's not a lot of open shots. If you watch the UNC Duke game, what was so evident was every basket Duke had was fairly easy. Every basket UNC had, for the most part, was a tough one to come by. And it's just not sustainable to score that way. So you know what? Duke won because Duke is better. 87-70. And that scoreboard is misleading. Duke could have won by 50. That's what it felt like. It felt like Duke could have avalanched them by 50.